What is up, everybody? Turboverse TV here today. We're going to talk about the zaniness, the craziness of the FTC versus Microsoft court case. Like I said before, I have not been watching this, but I've just been receiving like the updates from Twitter, people who have been watching this, mainly getting the bullet points of what's been going on here. So we had a crazy situation where console wars was actually mentioned in a court case. And it's like, really? Is this real life at this point? Why is console wars being brought up in a court case? They do know this is not a real thing, right? This is just people arguing back and forth about whatever box is better. Like, it's not a real thing, but it's being brought up. Like, really? Are we giving Sony fanboys validity? Like, they can be brought up in court cases? What is going on here? But this is an update that says the FTC lawyer just asked, Mr. Spencer, you are aware of the term console wars, right? I only imagine that this guy sounded like Agent Smith from the Matrix series asking this ridiculous question about console wars. Like, really? He says, gamers, we've made it. I don't know if I'll be proud about that. I don't know if I'm proud that Sony fanboys and all their whining is getting no credibility. Like, is there nobody at this, like the lawyers, are they not young enough to know what video games are, what console wars isn't a real thing? Like, I don't know. It just seems cringy to me. And it's very telling that people who obviously don't know about video games are making these critical decisions about the future of video games. So this is a big decision if Activision Blizzard is part of Microsoft or not. Probably one of the biggest mergers we have seen in gaming. And the fact that people who are judging this or making claims about this have no idea about video games in general, the fact that you bring up console war, that cringiness is a thing, is very concerning at this point. So I don't know. I mean, at this point, I honestly don't care if the merger goes through. If it doesn't go through, just let it be over with at this point. And the whole, it's just getting bizarre territories. Man, I wouldn't even know what to say if I was in a courtroom. Console wars got brought up. I'd be like, what? I'd be like, what's going on here? This person says, I pray to God that they bring in the term PC master race as well. Yeah, that'd have been, I wouldn't have thought that would have been real life at that point. I thought I'd been getting trolled or something. Like I'm getting punked. Like, what's going on here? Oh man, this is what happens when you don't got people who are credible on this subject asking questions about the show's subject. It's like, jeez. Literally report on the console where like it's a real thing. That's the actual real thing that's going on here. Like, no, console wars isn't a real thing. It's just grown men arguing about which console plastic box is better. I mean, that's all it is. It's nothing. And then another thing you got to talk about too, because they've been talking about the FTC as well, how they mentioned Sony 57 times and consumers 10 times. And the court, the FTC referenced the Sony 72 times and consumers 11 times. This is absolutely shocking because you would think that the FTC is all about the consumers, right? But it seems like they're more concerned about Sony's pockets. I don't want to bring up the tinfoil hat or anything, but it seems like the FTC might be more concerned about Sony than the actual consumers they're supposed to be cared about. So, we know how Sony gets down. We know that they do these dirty hand tactics to keep games off Xbox. And they might be doing some other tactics to, put some money in some of these people's pockets and to make them protect them like this, because this is kind of ridiculous. It's like, is the FTC meant to protect Sony or the consumers at this point? So, just fascinating. And this is a source as well. Apparently somebody counted how many times they mentioned it. How many times they mentioned Sony in the whole hearing, and it's 72 times. That's ridiculous. Care a lot more about Sony than the actual people, so they don't care about consumers, only their agenda. Kind of seems like it when you mention Sony 72 times. You're so concerned about Sony instead of the actual consumer base or the people in general. It kind of seems like you got an agenda there. Why are you even shocked? The FTC, led by Lena Khan, is representing a foreign entity. This case has nothing to do with the U.S. consumers. If this was about consumers, the FTC did not need to meet with Jim Ryan. Yeah. Got to talk about those meetings, too, that they've been doing. So, very shady stuff going on with this whole case. Not only is it cringy about console wars being mentioned, but there's just a lot of shady stuff going on with this. These companies don't care about us. They care about money. Government figures only care about the money. We exist only to make them all money. Yeah, harsh reality. If the deal hurts Sony, that means it will hurt Sony customers who make up the largest install base on console, therefore hurt consumers. Yeah, Sony's consumers. Everybody has a PlayStation or cares about PlayStation like that. And there's a fanboy who believes that Sony should also attack Nintendo for no reason. I'm not even going to address that. It reminds me of some institution that sided with China. It's getting a little bit too political. You usually try to address the political. I guess in this instance, it has to do with politics, but kind of try to avoid the political stuff on this channel. I'm just mad that these people could just decide the fate of video games at this point. Like, jeez, they clearly don't know what they're talking about, but they can decide if this merger goes through, which is really annoying. Just with this cringiness, the console wars being mentioned. The FTC is so out of touch, it's embarrassing. Yeah, very much so. Mr. Spencer, need I remind you that Nintendo games are for babies? I don't know. I don't think they made that statement, but that'd be kind of funny if they did make that statement. Who would be shocked at this point if they did make that type of statement? Well, there goes the case. Hopefully the means Xbox has no games, Xbox last place, Xbox needs to compete, and more show up. If we're using memes at this point, might as well. It's like they're talking about console wars. You might as well be taking into account that Xbox has no games narrative then at that point. Gamers in their 30s have made it. Any younger than that, you have no claim. I don't know. I mean, the console wars, it's not an actual thing. It's been a thing since since Nintendo and Sega at this point until now. So, what even is this? That's what I'll be saying as well. Like, this is just craziness. Console wars being mentioned in the court case. The FTC has no case if they're mentioning this nonsense. Facepalm. This is a joke. Oh, for F's sake. Can't wait till Laura say, do you know about the PC Master Race? It's like when memes start becoming reality at this point. It being used in real cases. It's like, really? Mr. Spencer, do you know the term pony? Do you know that also the Xbox has no games? Might as well have been asked too at that point. Like, why not? This whole thing is a joke. Why not just ask those questions too at this point? Jeez. Even though I have not been watching this entire thing, just the tidbits and stuff that has been leaking out from this court case, it is definitely far more interesting than that PlayStation Showcase by far. This whole court hearing, just from the weird stuff that's been coming out about this, it is way more interesting than that Sony Showcase, which is not a good sign. That a court hearing is more interesting than a showcase, because Sony literally showed pretty much nothing besides Spider-Man 2. Mr. Spencer, have you heard of Dreamcast Guy? Oh, man. Government is about as uneducated as its fan base. Competition is good for the industry except when it becomes a college football game against rivals. I always cringe having these effing guys ask the gamer/creator of game these stupid questions. Even the Zuckerberg in question was cringe among other people. Yeah. That's like you would think you have somebody more expert on video games at this point. Like, jeez. Bruh, is this FTC lawyer really asked about console wars? I'm so done. Yes, fanboys are now famous now. It's just getting ridiculous. It's ridiculous times we're living in. The first time in history where fanboys have been legally recognized. I used to pray for times like this. Oh, man. This is sad. This is really sad and pathetic at this point. We're in the end game now. Bruh. Like I said, this has been far more entertaining than that Sony Showcase by far. Like, jeez. Looks like the final battle is here. Yes, where you're going to hear fanboys taking a stand, talking about which console is better at this point. That's probably going to be the determining factor of this court case. Gamers, it's our time to rise up now. I am begging the FTC lawyer to say the term PC Master Race, please. Oh man, this is so ridiculous. This is literally ridiculous at this point. Console Wars made it to U.S. federal court. That's it. It's over. Here we go. At this point, I am convinced that we effing live in South Park world. This is definitely something you will see on South Park or The Simpsons. Like, it's definitely something to that extent to this point. Like, jeez. But yeah, I'm gonna conclude it right here. Enough of this ridiculous stuff right here with the FTC. The cringy questions they've been asking at this, the whole like pretty much fanboyism of Sony at this point, like, the protecting of Sony. Like, pretty much might as well call these guys fanboys. Like, the most amount they're just protecting Sony and not the actual consumer base. It's just ridiculous. But I'm gonna clear right here. I definitely want to see your thoughts down below about these tidbits from the court case so far. Leave a like for this video. As always, thanks for watching and peace.